We also know that Kim has 3 important friends. So in addition to Moon, he has the friendship of someone called Vladimir Putin in Russia, and of course, Xi Jinping in China. Putin is just a mischief maker. He doesn't really care about North Asia, and I think all he wants to do is make a buck, which explains why Russia has been violating UN sanctions on North Korea openly. He's not the problem. The problem is Xi Jinping and Moon Jae-in. Xi Jinping this year has shown who is in charge of North Korea. You will hear many analysts say, oh, you know, the North Koreans don't really like the Chinese. And then they imply that Beijing has no influence in the North Korean capital. But this year, we saw Kim Jong-un travel to Chinese soil 3 times in a row to talk to Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping did not go to North Korea at all. So what we are seeing is that Fatty III, which is the Chinese name for Kim Jong-un, really is the vassal of the Chinese state. Now, this display of naked power reveals the true nature of the relationship, and therefore we can understand why the Chinese are supporting the North Korean nuclear weapons program with components, equipment, and materials. And we can understand why the Chinese banks, especially the big Chinese banks, have continued to launder money for the North Koreans. As a retired Chinese military officer said a few years ago at a conference in Asia, quote, North Korea is a rabid dog that we keep in a large cage. And as I mentioned, there's one other villain in this drama, and that's Moon Jae-in. Now, more than at any time since 1950, when the North Koreans pushed the American forces down to the Pusan perimeter, now more than at any time since the end of 1950, it does look like North Korea could take over South Korea. In short, the free world could lose South Korea, and that's because South Korea's democracy is in mortal danger. Now, many people say, oh, it's just absolutely ludicrous that you can have a destitute North Korea take over South Korea. The problem is, though, South Korea has a president who is subverting South Korean democracy and the security of his own state. Moon Jae-in is undermining the whole notion of liberal democracy by trying to take that concept out of the South Korean constitution. He is jailing opponents. He is muzzling North Korean defectors in South Korea. He is taking down the defenses of South Korea to a North Korean invasion. He's whitewashing the North Koreans. He's allowing pro-North Korean thugs in South Korea to have free reign. And Moon Jae-in is attempting to unify the 2 Korean states on North Korea's terms. I don't know what Moon Jae-in's going on inside of his mind. I don't know what his intentions are. But this I can say, that if Moon Jae-in were trying to help North Korea take over South Korea, he would be doing exactly what he is doing today. So why does this matter? 2 things. First, let's look at a map. The Korean Peninsula is a dagger pointed at the main islands of Japan. If South Korea were to fall in unfriendly hands, the defense of Japan would be much more difficult and certainly would be complicated. And the issue is the same for the United States as well. For more than a century, the U.S. has drawn its western defense perimeter, not off the coast of California, not off the coast of Hawaii or even Guam, but off the coast of East Asia. Second thing, at a time when the whole concept of democracy is under unprecedented attack, the United States and Japan, democracies in themselves, cannot allow China and North Korea to take over any democracy, especially one as important as South Korea. Now, because Moon Jae-in is supporting Kim Jong-un, it means all sorts of issues for us are complicated, including the disarming of North Korea. Both Korean leaders, Moon Jae-in, Kim Jong-un, are not friends of democracy, and they're not friends of a peaceful world. They are the enemies of liberty and all the things that we hold dear. So now, more than at any other time since the end of fighting in the Korean War, 1953. Now, more than at any other time since 1953. The stakes on the Korean Peninsula, for us, for Japan, for everybody else, could not be higher. Thank you very much.